To this now, world leaders have welcomed the news of a hostage deal reached between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, even though the Israeli cabinet is yet to vote on the deal. Israel was expected to vote this morning, but now blames Hamas for reneging on parts of the agreement. Qatar announced last night that a truce to end 15 months of fighting in the Strip had been reached. Implementation was due to begin on Sunday. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, have already also welcomed the deal. I'm joined now by Na'eem Jeenah, Senior Researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. A very good afternoon to you, Na'eem. Thanks very much for your time. Even before it could be implemented, there's a standoff.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it a standoff. I mean, it's basically one side trying to undermine it and renege on something that they agreed on less than 24 hours ago and signed the deal yesterday. Netanyahu has, to be honest, has not behaved honorably at all in the past 15 months, or at all, one might say. You remember that the same deal was announced in May of 2024 by Joe Biden, and he said that the deal came from, the terms of the deal came from Israel. Hamas accepted it almost immediately. Israel never commented on it. This deal now was signed yesterday. Netanyahu didn't comment on it until 3 o'clock this morning, saying that he's waiting for his cabinet meeting, and now making up a story that that Hamas is reneging or backtracking on the deal, and Hamas insists that it is fully committed to the deal made yesterday. It's clear that that Netanyahu does not want to end this genocide.
Well, there are people who didn't give it a chance even before this latest move by the Israeli government, beginning with other people asking in whose interests and is this, given the fact that one of the first things that U.S. President Joe Biden, for example, had to talk about was who should take credit for it.
Yes, and of course he very proudly took credit for it. The fact is that for the past 15 months, he has put no pressure on the Israeli government at all to stop what the International Court of Justice said was plausibly a genocide. He enabled them when he announced that deal in May, and Israel refused to go along with it. He didn't use any stick, didn't say that, this is conditional, you have to accept it or whatever. He kept adding to the military aid that was given up to now, even, last week or the week before, up to now more than $30 billion by the Biden administration has given to Israel over the past 15 months in military aid, let alone anything else. Now he's claiming credit for this, and the reality is that the only reason the Israelis went to the table to get a deal is because of the rantings and threats of the president-elect, Donald Trump, who, not that he cares for Palestinians or cares about a genocide taking place, but he didn't want to inherit what he saw as a war taking place, and therefore he put pressure. The lesson from that, of course, is that any time in the past 15 months, Joe Biden could have put the same kind of pressure on the Israeli government, and this genocide could have stopped in December 2023, in February 2024, in May 2024, in June, anytime. But he chose not to, and it now has. So claiming credit now for this deal is really quite laughable.
But then, even as he made the announcement, he did say that he was doing so from a point of view of or standpoint of an America that is friends and allies with Israel.
Yes, and he and Trump both represent that same strand of politicians who believe or who are close friends of Israel and will defend and protect Israel and will promote Israel's actions even when they are illegal. You would remember that it was Donald Trump, the last time he was president, who moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Jerusalem, under international law, is occupied territory. It does not belong to Israel, even though Israel has annexed it. Joe Biden came in and he didn't move the embassy back. He maintained that position. All of the war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Israel in the past 15 months and before have been enabled by successive U.S. Administrations. So the friendliness of Biden versus Trump is not at all in question. They are both very friendly. In Trump's case, it's just that he doesn't, he's portrayed this image of being someone who is against war, who will never start a war, etc. And it's only in order to maintain that image. It's quite possible, for example, that if Israel does what it has been threatening to do, which is annex the West Bank, part of Palestinian territory, that Donald Trump would endorse that annexation, even though it is in complete violation of international law. So the friendliness to Israel and uncritical support of Israel is unquestioned.
Say Israel does eventually vote on it and gets to accept the deal and its terms. Do you see it as paving the way for a permanent end to the war?
That is the intention of the agreement, or at least of the text of the agreement. It's broken into three phases, and the third phase would end with an end to this particular conflict or this particular round. That's the intention. The Israelis, however, could, they've already indicated now that they could pull out right now or at any stage later on. So the first phase, for example, is 42 days, 6 weeks. And the second phase, the details and time frame for the second phase are not agreed on yet. That the negotiations for that will start on day 16 of the first phase. At that point, Israel could decide to end it, to withdraw and not continue with the negotiations. Or they might continue and then not move on to the second phase and decide to start bombing and resume the genocide again. All of this is possible. So there are no guarantees at the moment that this process will reach the conclusion as envisaged in the written deal.
To what extent then do you think Trump becomes central in what would happen next, given the fact, or what you were saying earlier, that he wouldn't want to inherit a war? He did put pressure on the Biden administration to try and wrap this up as quickly as possible. So if indeed there is this apparent reluctance on the part of the Israelis to actually follow things through, to what extent do you think Trump then may become perhaps the most important person, well, as America has been, in the future of this deal, if it does indeed go ahead, at least the initial stages of it?
Of course, the unfortunate thing about global politics at the moment is that, to a large extent, one country can hold the whole world to ransom. And in some ways, one person, the President of the United States, can hold the whole world to ransom. So Trump is very central in how things move forward. The one thing we can say with certainty about Trump is that he's entirely unpredictable. So despite what he said about him not wanting to inherit a war and ending it and all of that, day 16, which is, about 12, 13 days into his presidency, if Netanyahu whispers in his ear and he likes what Netanyahu whispers, he might decide that he's fine with the genocide continuing. So he's central to this deal actually unfolding as it is supposed to, but we can't be certain that he will do that, that he will actually be faithful to the deal as it is on paper.
Well, let's leave it there for today. Na'eem Jeenah, thank you very much for your time and insights. He's the Executive Director of the Afro-Middle East Center.